Today I'll be ranking the top 25 players in basketball right now, which at the time of recording this is about 2 weeks from the 2023 All-Star break. Before I jump right into it, this list is just mine. It's not meant to be taken too seriously. I'm just making this video for fun, and at a certain point, with all of these players being at the skill that they are, it starts to get a little less objective and a little more subjective, but I tried being as objective as possible. It's just really hard sometimes when the skill gap is so tiny and everyone is so closely good. How I ranked everyone is basically how they are right now, like this season, and then a little bit of how they've been in previous years of their career. So basically I had to factor things into like injury history, or if a player can't stay healthy, I do have to account for that. Now, with that being said, coming in at number 25 as the 25th best player in basketball right now, we have Domantas Sabonis. In his 7th season now and his first for Sacramento, he's been killing it, and it's a huge reason why they're the number 3 seed in a stacked Western Conference. This season, he's been averaging 18.5 points per game on 67.2% true shooting, along with 12.5 boards and 7.1 assists per game. He's been doing it all for the Kings, and not only that, but he's been making his teammates better around him. Currently having career highs in assists, field goal percentage, free throw percentage, and blocks per game, Domantas has been killing it lately and is the 25th best player in basketball. Moving down now into the 24th spot, we have Bam Adebayo of the Miami Heat. Now in his 6th season and showing no signs of slowing down, this season he's currently averaging 21.4 points per game on 58.6% true shooting, along with 10 rebounds, 3.1 assists, 1.1 steals, and 0.8 blocks. You also have to talk about the success that Adebayo has on the other side of the ball too though. He's been an elite defender and makes just as big as an impact defensively as he does offensively in games. Currently he's got the 4th best odds to win Defensive Player of the Year, and he's been right around there the last couple of seasons. Bam Adebayo is one of the league's most complete players, and I think the number 24 spot is fitting. Moving down now to the 23rd best player in basketball, we have DeMar DeRozan of the Chicago Bulls. Currently, he's the reason they have any chance of making the playoffs at all, and especially with having Lonzo Ball out, he's had to pick up the slack and basically put the team on his back. He definitely gets some help from Zach LaVine, who's a pretty decent teammate, and last season, DeMar DeRozan was one of the best in the league, even gaining an MVP vote. This season, he's picked up exactly where he left off and is currently averaging 26.3 points per game on 60% true shooting, along with 5 boards and 5 assists. He's also really clutch when the moments become big. DeRozan's exactly who you want having the ball at the end of the game, and that's why he comes in at the number 23 spot. Moving on now to the number 22 spot, we have Jaylen Brown of the Boston Celtics. Stuck in the shadow of his teammate, who I'll be talking about in a little bit, he's averaging a criminally underrated 27 points per game, a career high, on 58.9% true shooting, with 7.2 boards, 3.2 assists, and half a block with a little over a steal per game. Jaylen Brown is basically a walking bucket and can be a different player in the clutch, often being the player whose ball is in his hands at the end of the game and everyone has anticipated excitement. He's a really good player and still only improving. Sometimes I think he might even be the best player on this team. Coming in at the number 21 spot, we have Kyrie Irving, the newly acquired Dallas Maverick. He may be hated by the media, but the fans still love him, and I think that showed through him being selected as an all-star starter this season, and deservingly so. This season he's been averaging 27.3 points per game on 60.4 true percent shooting, to go along with 5.1 rebounds, 5.3 assists, and a combined 2 blocks and steals per game. He may even be more popular for what he's doing off the court and some of his beliefs, but while he's on the court, he's as crafty around the rim as anyone and may even have the best handles of all time. Kyrie Irving's exactly who you'd want, having the ball at the end of the game and needing a bucket. Slightly edging Kyrie Irving out, at the number 20 spot, I have Paul George of the Los Angeles Clippers. Currently, he's averaging 23.3 points per game on 59.6% true shooting, along with 6.1 rebounds, 5.4 assists, and 1.5 steals per game. George is also one of the best defenders in the league. He's always making it tough for his opposing player that night. And he's been one of the best defenders the league has had for about a decade now and continues to play at that level. Not only is he really good defensively, but he's almost impossible to guard, having a really good layup package, a really nice mid-range. He's got the 3-ball going for him, and he's one of the best dunkers in the league as well. Paul George is just an all-around phenomenal player. Moving down into our 19th spot as the 19th best player in basketball, I have James Harden of the Philadelphia 76ers. He's literally a walking bucket. Harden has been unstoppable, basically creating his own moves never seen before and changing the way NBA officiates its games. He's been extremely influential to young hoopers and even NBA players right now. This season, he's averaging 21.3 points per game on 62% true shooting, along with 6.3 rebounds and 11 assists. Not only is he a top-tier scoring talent, he's also become one of the league's best passers and getting his teammates a lot more involved than he used to in Houston. And that's not the only part of his game that's drastically improved since leaving Houston. With a little bit of effort, Harden can prove he's actually defensively capable. Harden's still a top 20 player in the league easily and is a major reason Philly is having the success that they are and potentially even a chance at a ring finally. But coming in as the 18th best player in basketball right now, I have Jimmy Butler of the Miami Heat. He's not always a standout in the regular season, but he's ranking so low because of the animal he turns into in the playoffs. He turns into a completely different player, almost like he's always had something to prove, and basically becoming prime Jordan. This season, in the regular season, he's still had a very solid year, averaging 22 points on 63% true shooting, along with 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and a league-leading 2.1 steals. Jimmy Butler's also insanely clutch and is the player who always seems to show up in the biggest moments. He's one of the clutchest players the league has to offer and is always a joy to watch play, especially come playoff time, which he always makes. After Jimmy Butler, as the 17th best player in basketball, I have Zion Williamson of the New Orleans Pelicans. Easily the most exciting and ridiculous college basketball player I've ever seen. It has transferred to the league quite well. I think when healthy, he could easily be a top 10 player, but injuries are a really big question with him, and he's always missed significant time. I think when healthy, he could easily be a top 10 player, but injuries always seem to nag him and are really just a big question surrounding whether he's actually a top 10 player or not. Being the unique body type that he is at 6'6" and 285 pounds, it's kind of hard to stay healthy, I suppose. When playing though, he transforms the Pelicans into a top tier team, and potentially making an impact in the playoffs is in the near future for them. This season, his averages are looking like 26 points per game on 65.2% true shooting, along with 7 rebounds, 4.6 assists, 1.1 steals, and 0.6 blocks. I'm putting Zion at 17 because there's a lot of uncertainty that comes with him, but if he were to play more games and actually run maybe 80 games a season, he'd easily be in my top 10, and he's one of the best talents the league has right now. I really hope he can stay healthy because there's a Hall of Fame in his future. Moving down now to our number 16 spot, I have Kawhi Leonard of the LA Clippers. Potentially a top 50 player all time with his several years of absolute dominance, but right now, in the last several years, he's been full of injuries. Easily a top 5 player when healthy. He's probably a top 10 offensive player and defensive player on each end. He's always making it an absolute nightmare for the opposing player he's playing that night, but he doesn't play that much, and it's a pretty similar situation to Zion Williamson, where he's constantly taking load management or just simply not even being able to be on the floor with his teammates. Hopefully he can stay on the court because he's really fun to watch. I think he's a phenomenal player, and honestly he just makes the league more competitive. And at one point he was even considered one of the best players in the entire world. I think he still has that potential, he just needs to stay healthy. Slightly edging Kawhi out, I have Pascal Siakam coming in as the 15th spot. Being on the Toronto Raptors, he's their leader, a really good defender, and scorer. Pascal is slowly taking his game to the elite status that we once saw in the playoffs. This season, he's averaging 25 points, which for him is a career high, 8 rebounds, and 6.3 assists. The Raptors may not be on pace to make the playoffs and aren't really looking like too good of a team, but that's really nothing to take away from Pascal. Without him, I don't even think they'd be within a 12 seed. They'd probably be a bottom 3 team in the entire NBA without him. He's an absolute stud on both ends of the floor. That's the kind of player recently he's turned into. Coming down now into our number 14 spot, I have Devin Booker of the Phoenix Suns. People have the perception that he's strictly a walking bucket, but he's also developed other parts of his game. Scoring is certainly what puts him at number 14, but don't get me wrong, he's still a pretty decent passer. And right now he's averaging 27.1 points per game on 58.5% true shooting, along with 4.6 rebounds, 5.6 assists, and a combined 1.3 steals and blocks per game. He's definitely going to benefit from having Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, and the newly acquired Kevin Durant. I think Booker with a lot of room for inconsistent nights now, whereas before he'd have to play well if the Suns were going to win. Adding Durant makes it to where he doesn't have to play his absolute A game every single time. The Suns are going to be able to win without him averaging 30 points per game now. He's not going to need to play his absolute best basketball. He's going to be able to be a little more relaxed. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes off in the playoffs. Devin Booker has the potential to be a top 10 player in the NBA. I just don't think his defense and all-around game is good enough yet. Coming down to our number 13 spot, I have Donovan Mitchell of the Cleveland Cavaliers. He's easily having his best season yet, having career highs in field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, points per game, minutes per game, and true shooting of 61.7%. He's averaging 27.6 points per game with 4 boards, 5 assists, and not only that, he's being extremely efficient. He's even had a 70-point game this season, which is absolutely ridiculous. And the Cavaliers are currently a 5 seed and 9 games above 500, and Donovan Mitchell is really, pretty much the only reason why. The Cavaliers suddenly have turned into a legitimate playoff team. I wouldn't even be surprised if the Cavaliers win a playoff series. They're that solid this season. When you look at last season without him versus this season with him, the Cavaliers are just so much better. Donovan Mitchell's clearly an extremely valuable player, and that's why he comes in at my number 13 spot. Just missing out on the top 10, at my number 12 spot, I have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the Oklahoma City Thunder. He's taken a huge step this season, now averaging 30.8 points per game on 62% true shooting, 4.8 rebounds, 5.6 assists, 1.7 steals, and 1.1 blocks. Shai's a menace in every game he plays in and is slowly cementing himself as a superstar. Recently, I saw something that said he's got more points than Paul George and Kawhi Leonard combined, and them two have played a lot more games than Shai has this season, and that just speaks to how good of a player he's become. Those are two bona fide all-stars, elite status players that he's outscored just by himself, having played less games. And if he's any indication for what the Thunder's future looks like as a franchise, they're going to be in really, really good hands. He may be the reason that they stop the rebuild and actually start to try and win. They have so many future picks too. In 5 years, I don't see how the Thunder won't be a legitimate contender. They're going to be looking damn scary. Coming down to number 11, just missing out on the top 10, I have Anthony Davis of the Los Angeles Lakers. Obviously, he's one of the best in the league, especially since he joined. He's just that kind of player, but he's made of glass. It feels like every game he has a spill that looks scary, or he twists his ankle that looks like he may have gotten hurt. And watching him, it feels like you're almost cringing or on the edge of your seat every single time he's playing. But when he's on the floor, he's an MVP candidate. He's one of the best the league has. He's averaging this season 26.8 points per game on 65.3% true shooting, 12 boards, 3.9 assists, and 2 blocks with 1.3 steals per game. He's an extremely productive player. He does it pretty much all. He also serves as a rim protector. He's a good defender. He's definitely a bona fide superstar. I just wish that he were actually on the court. If he stays healthy, the Lakers could be a contender. I don't see why not. Alright, now we're in the top 10. Starting at number 10, I have Ja Morant of the Memphis Grizzlies. If I'm talking about strictly explosiveness, he reminds me of prime Derrick Rose or even prime Russell Westbrook. He's easily one of the league's most athletic players, and he's so exciting to watch. This season, he's averaging 27.4 points on 55.9 true shooting, 5.8 rebounds, 8.3 assists, and 1 steal per game. He may not be a very efficient shooter, but he creates shots not only for himself, but his teammates too. He's a really good passer, and recently in the last couple seasons, he's taken huge steps. Similarly to Shai Alexander, he's slowly cementing himself as one of the best players in the league, and right now, he's number 10. Just edging him out at our number 9 spot, I have LeBron James of the Lakers. He started off the season pretty slow and looked like age might have finally been catching up to him, but obviously he's LeBron, he turned it around. He's now averaging insane numbers as he always does, at 30.2 points per game on 58.6% true shooting, with 8.5 boards, 7.1 assists, 1 steal, and a little over half a block per game. He's LeBron, he does it every single season. Who knows when he'll stop? It looks like age literally doesn't matter. Congratulations to him breaking the all-time scoring record. I don't think that'll ever be touched with the longevity he's had and how much time and money he puts into his body. He's doing it right. He's a role model off the floor and on the floor. I'm not even a fan of his, but what he's done is pretty respectable. Right now, he's only at the number 9 spot, but by the end of the year, he could still move up. You never know with him. He's also showing no signs of regression and has basically been in the same prime for 20 years now. Now moving on to our number 8 spot, I have Damian Lillard of the Portland Trail Blazers. I'd say Dame is the clutchest player in the league right now, and he pretty much has been since he's been in the league. He pretty much always shows up and hits that buzzer beater 3 to win the game. We saw him do it against the Rockets when it was game 6, when they needed to win, otherwise it would have gone to game 7. And then we saw him do it against the Thunder, putting him away and waving goodbye. When he's in his bag too, his ability to take games over and make it his game is so unique. Dame is one of the few players that can pretty much just put a team on his shoulders and make it to where you can never count that team out, no matter how much they're down by or what the momentum looks like. He has that certain ability to take a game over and win that game no matter what the odds are. He also never fails to drop buckets on opposing teams either. This season he's averaging 30.7 points per game on 64.3% true shooting, which for guards is pretty amazing. With this, he's averaging 4.1 boards, 7.4 assists, and a combined 1.1 steals and blocks per game. It may even be his best one yet. I mean, he's having a really good year, and he's a second half player too, so after this all-star break he could even move up one spot, maybe 2. He's a better player usually in the second half when it comes playoff time. It kind of sucks he's on the Blazers though. I feel like if you're on a better team, he'd be making really strong pushes in the playoffs and for the MVP award. I hope he gets a ring by the end of his career. I also really hope he gets a ring by the end of his career. He's the kind of caliber player that you'd want to see win, and unfortunately he's too loyal. I don't think he's gonna leave. Hopefully the Blazers can build around him. Someone get Dame an all-star teammate. Coming in at our number 7 spot as the 7th best player in basketball right now, I have Jason Tatum of the Boston Celtics. He's definitely made it to elite status with his NBA Finals berth, I'd say, even though he got swept. And this season he's proved he's the best team in the East. The Celtics right now are the team to beat, and he may be surrounded by really good players, but he's the focal point of that team. He's their main source of scoring. He's a really good defender. He just ties all of the players together. He gets everyone involved and makes everyone around him better. This season he's averaging 31.1 points per game on 61% true shooting with 8.7 rebounds, 4.4 assists, 1.1 steals, and 0.8 blocks. He's also making a really strong case for MVP this season and might end up even winning it. Right now he's faced up against amazing players, who I'll get to shortly, but Jason Tatum is having a phenomenal season, and he's the 7th best player in the world right now. Just slightly better than Jason Tatum, I have Joel Embiid of the Philadelphia 76ers. Easily a top center in the NBA right now. He's making a really strong case for the MVP award, similarly to Tatum. It feels like he's doing that just about every year now. I'd say the only thing keeping him from winning it is being a top seed in the East and keeping himself on the floor. He has a problem staying on the floor with his health and getting normal amount of minutes. He's just often injured, but if he can achieve that top seed and be a little bit better in the East and maintain his health, I think he'll win an MVP award. This season he's averaging 33.5 points, the most in the league, on 64.2% true shooting, 10.1 rebounds, 4.2 assists, 1.1 steals, and 1.7 blocks per game. I almost feel like the media wants players like Jokic or Luka or Tatum or Giannis to even win the award of MVP, but I really feel like Embiid has proven that he's the most valuable player, and he may have even deserved it last season. With his stats, I mean, he's going crazy this year. He's obviously a walking bucket. He's a really solid defender and rim protector, and he never makes it easy for offensive players to get easy buckets in the paint. Overall, Joel Embiid's one of the best in the league. Easily a top 10 player in all of the NBA, and for me, I put him at number 6. And slightly edging Joel Embiid out at our number 5 spot as the 5th best player in the world, I have Kevin Durant of the newly Phoenix Suns. I really can't believe that trade happened. It was pretty shocking to me, and it has me worrying about the rest of the league. I think Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant now are easily the best starting 4 in the game, and if they all stay healthy, I don't see how they wouldn't win a ring together. They've got to be the favorites to win the championship. Kevin Durant throughout the years has maintained his dominance, and this season hasn't been any different. He's averaging 29.7 points per game on an insane 67.3% true shooting, which for the type of shots he takes and as often as he does is amazing. 6.7 boards, 5.3 assists, 0.8 steals, and 1.5 blocks. He's easily one of the best scorers in the NBA, and he's so versatile, being crafty around the rim, being able to pull up from just about anywhere on the court. He has the smoothest lockdown mid-range in the league, I'd say, and it really just makes him an unstoppable player. He's got nice touch around the rim. He can slam dunks. He's so good that if you keep him under 25 points in any game, you should really consider that a success. And to go along with that, he can serve as a solid rim protector, and when he's trying, he's a really good defender too. He really makes his offensive player work hard for any sort of production at all. Without some of the drama, Kevin Durant would be the absolute perfect player, I'd say. And somehow there's 4 people better in my opinion. Coming in next at our number 4 4 spot as the 4th best player in the world, I have Luka Doncic of the Dallas Mavericks. Right now, he's definitely a top 3 MVP candidate, and he's definitely deserving of it. He's putting up season averages of 33.4 points a game on 61.1% true shooting, along with 9 boards, 8.3 assists, and a combined 2 blocks and steals per game. With a season like this, I'm not sure how long he can do this for. It feels like he's pretty much putting up a 50-point game like every other day. It's pretty ridiculous. Like, he's seriously putting the team on his back and carrying them to, right now, currently a 5th seed, which is pretty ridiculous considering how good the Western Conference is. And now he just got Kyrie Irving too, so he should be even that much better. No team can really stop Luka. It's pretty much how you can contain him. A couple years down the line, I wouldn't be surprised to see Luka be the best player in the world. But right now, he's number 4 in the world, I'd say. These next top 3, I feel like don't really have an order, and it's so subjective because objectively they're all so close and so good. It's almost impossible to rank these 3. There's no really right order, so I just kind of did my best. At number 3, I have Giannis Antetokounmpo of the Milwaukee Bucks. This season, he's averaging 31.8 points with a 59.4% true shooting to go along with 12.2 boards, 5.2 assists, and a combined 1.6 steals and blocks. Giannis is a freak of nature. That's literally what he is. He can't be kept from the basket. He's developed a nice mid-range. He can't really shoot the 3-ball too well, but if he did, he would be like better than Jordan maybe. He carried the Bucks a couple of years ago to the championship over the Suns. He's as important to his team as any other player is to theirs. He's also a pretty underrated defender in my opinion. When trying, he can be pretty locked down and really hard for anyone to score on. A lot of people have him at number 1 or even number 2, but I'm putting him at number 3 because I think there are 2 players that are just barely better than Giannis. But if you have him at number 1, honestly, you're not wrong. He could easily be the best player. Moving on now to my number 2 spot and the 2nd best player in the world, I have Stephen Curry of the Golden State Warriors. Recently coming off his 4th championship, Steph is easily the best shooter of all time, a top 3 ball handler right now, and as crafty around the rim as anyone else. He takes flat out stupid shots that most players would get benched for, and honestly he makes most of them. He flat out tortures defenders and makes them look like fools. And if I were to guess, probably the hardest player to guard in the game is Steph Curry, because of his scoring assets, but also his off-ball movement. This season, he's averaging 29.7 points a game with a true shooting percentage of 66, which I don't know if you know how Steph Curry plays, but with his play style, it's almost unheard of. And to give you a sense of the type of shooter he is, he's taking contested 3s from 5 feet behind the arc. 3s on the run, completely smothered. He takes shots that nobody else even thinks about taking, and he still has a true shooting percentage of 66%. To go along with that, he's averaging 6.4 boards and assists each, and a steal and 0.4 block. His bag is as deep as anyone's. He's probably the most fun player to watch right now, and he's still at the age of 34. Steph is really a once-in-a-lifetime type of player that we all get to watch, and he lands as the 2nd best player in basketball right now. Enjoy him while you can, because he won't be in the league much longer. And really quick, before we get to the number 1 spot, I wanted to give some honorable mentions to players who just missed the top 25 cut, but I think are still really phenomenal. And these honorable mentions are in no order, but are Andrew Wiggins, Tyrese Halliburton, De'Aaron Fox, Drew Holiday, Karl Anthony Towns, Trae Young, Chris Paul, Lauri Markkanen, Darius Garland, Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle, Draymond Green, and Jalen Brunson. And now, as the best player in the world right now, I have Nikola Jokic of the Denver Nuggets. Currently the runaway MVP favorite, putting up absolutely stupid numbers and leading his team to the 1st seed. He's already coming off back-to-back MVP awards, and this season he's literally predicted to win it again. And that really doesn't happen because of voter fatigue. Nobody ever wins MVP 3 years in a row. But with the season Jokic is having, it would honestly be wrong to not give him it. Right now he's averaging 25.1 points per game on an insane 70.4% true shooting. That is like by far the best on this list yet. And to go along with that, he's averaging 11.1 rebounds and 10 assists. So as a center, he's averaging 25-point triple-double on 70% true shooting. I haven't really checked, but I don't think anyone in the league has ever seen anything like that. And he's got a combined 2 blocks and steals per game as well. The only thing really holding him back is sometimes he can be a little bit slow and lazy on defense, but that doesn't stop him from being the best player in the world right now. Especially when their team is the number 1 seed in the conference, there's nobody more valuable to their team than Jokic. There's nobody better than him right now. He's the best player in the world. That's gonna wrap up the video. Feel free to drop your lists or maybe give some criticism of things that I could work on. Thanks for watching.